Simon Says subscribe and click on the bell icon to receive notifications.
Hi, welcome to this Cybersecurity Awareness course. My name's Richard Keep, an IT professional with over 25 years in the IT, training and cybersecurity industries. In this first module, we're going to take a look at what cybersecurity is. The module is going to cover an overview of the definition of what we mean when we say cybersecurity. We're then going to examine something called the CIA triad. We're then going to take a look at threat actors. A threat actor is another name for a hacker. We're going to see the types of threat actor we're up against. We're going to look at their motivations, and we're also going to take a look at some of their methodologies. So let's get started. Before we dive in and start looking at the shady world of hacking and threat actors, let's take a moment just to understand what we mean by cybersecurity. Well, cybersecurity refers to the techniques we can employ to protect ourselves against malicious attempts to access the devices and systems that we use. These devices include computers, laptops, phones, and more, there are smart devices in our lives, such as smartwatches, smart televisions. I've even seen a smart washing machine. All these devices are potentially a target for threat actors and hackers. Nowadays, though, we also have to protect the services that we access. A lot of us are dependent on internet banking and internet shopping. There are so many things in life that we use our computer devices to access that those services are now also an active target for hackers and threat actors. We also need to prevent unauthorized access to our data. Personal identity theft is a very common goal for threat actors. They will try to steal a person's information and personal data so they can impersonate the person to then carry out additional frauds. So when we're referring to cybersecurity, what we're talking about is not just protecting our own personal devices, but also those services that we depend on and our own personal information. To help us better understand what cybersecurity is, we often refer to something called the CIA triad. No, I don't mean that CIA. The CIA triad refers to the three goals of cybersecurity: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Well, what do we mean by confidentiality? Well, we want to ensure that data remains confidential. In other words, data is only accessed or read by those who have permission to read or access that data. Common methods to ensure confidentiality include things like data encryption, authentication, and access control. Confidentiality needs to apply to data when it is at rest. For instance, you've saved files to a USB memory stick or your laptop's hard drive. But it should also apply when data is in transit. In other words, when it is being transferred. For example, when you're accessing your bank's website or sending an email to a friend or colleague, you don't want someone eavesdropping and reading what those messages contain. Well, what's integrity? Integrity involves making sure data is trustworthy and hasn't been tampered with. A common method used to ensure data integrity is a process called hashing that we'll talk about a little later. Hashing is a mathematical method that allows us to tell if a single character in a file, message, or even an entire computer program has been changed. So has it been altered? Finally, availability. Availability refers to the ability to access the data when we need to access it. We could ensure our data was super confidential and had a huge amount of integrity by simply burying it all in the bottom of a 100-metre deep hole and fill the hole with concrete. The trouble would be, how would we access that data when we actually need it? In computing, there are two common terms you hear: high availability and fault tolerance. These two phrases often refer to systems that ensure data is accessible even in the event of a computer system failure or power outage. So what is a threat actor? Well, in the world of cybersecurity, a threat actor refers to an individual or a group of individuals who engage in malicious activities aiming to exploit vulnerabilities or gain unauthorized access or cause harm to computer systems, networks, or users' personal information. Threat actors are often synonymous with terms like hacking, hackers, cybercriminals, or even adversaries. Threat actors can operate individually or in organised groups, leveraging their skills, knowledge and resources to carry out their malicious activities. Some well-known hacktivist groups, which are activist hackers, have gained significant attention in recent years. For example, groups like Anonymous, Lizard Squad and APT29, also known as Cozy Bear, have made headlines for their high-profile cyber attacks and political activism. These threat actors employ various techniques and tools to achieve their objectives. They may exploit software vulnerabilities, launch phishing campaigns, use social engineering tactics, or develop sophisticated malware to compromise systems. Their motivations can vary, including financial gain, political activism, corporate espionage, or the simple desire to just disrupt systems and create chaos. Threat actors may target individuals, organisations, or even governments, seeking to steal sensitive data, compromise systems for financial gain, disrupt critical infrastructure, or engage in espionage. Their activities can lead to significant financial losses, reputational damage, and compromise individuals' privacy and security. It is important to note that threat actors continuously evolve their tactics and techniques, adapting to advancements in technology and security measures. This dynamic landscape underscores the need for robust cybersecurity measures, including proactive threat detection, strong security protocols, and the ongoing education and awareness among individuals and organisations. So now we understand what we mean by a threat actor, let's take a look at the different types of threat actor. Firstly, we have the dreaded black hat hacker. A black hat is an individual who breaks into computer networks or systems with a malicious intent, for instance to steal company or personal information or to cause a service to crash. Quite often, black hats are highly skilled individuals who find ways to circumvent security systems to gain access. On the other hand, we have white hats. A white hat will use the same methods as a black hat, but generally they will have the permission of the system owner and will be attempting to gain access to test the cybersecurity of a system or a network. They will then report those findings to the company to allow them to take steps to close those vulnerabilities. Many white hats actually start life as black hats before becoming good guys. Between the two we have grey hats. Grey hats generally don't target systems with malicious intent, but do so as part of their ongoing mission to make the internet and computer systems safer. They generally do not have the permission of the organisation they are targeting, and so their activities are illegal. However, they will often say they don't mean to cause harm to systems, only to highlight their vulnerabilities. While we're talking about threat actors, another term you often hear is the term script kiddie. The term refers to inexperienced hackers who generally, out of curiosity, maybe they've watched online videos or tutorials or read a book on how to hack and they follow the guidance in those guides. Their lack of a detailed understanding of hacking means their attempts will often be easy to defend against, as in most cases they'll be attempting to exploit outdated vulnerabilities in operating systems, devices or applications. If you ensure you have up-to-date antivirus programs and have applied the latest updates from your operating system vendor, you'll probably be protected against the script kiddie. Black hat, white hat and grey hat hackers, on the other hand, can be very, very skilled individuals. So what motivates a threat actor? What makes someone wake up one day and decide to attack a company or an individual? Well, the answer isn't so simple. Threat actors are motivated by many different things. For example, one motivation that has become commonplace over the last 10 years is financial gain. This started when hackers started writing spyware and adware, malicious software for either stealing personal data from an individual, which was the case with spyware, or displaying unwanted adverts to an individual, as was the case with adware. The creators of this malicious software would then earn money by either selling the harvested personal data or through advertising revenues. Recently, though, ransomware has become a new and genuine threat to computer safety. This kind of special malware, once it's on a computer or network, will encrypt all the data files that it finds. The victim is then presented with a warning message advising them that their computer has been encrypted and that the only way to decrypt their data is to pay the hacker's ransom. The US-based travel company CWT paid a record $4.5 million to malicious hackers when their network was infected with ransomware, a ransomware called Ragnar Locker. The malicious software had taken down 30,000 computers on their network before they paid the ransom. Other motivations might include things like fame or notoriety. It could be political motivation, either as a protest against a government or potentially state-sponsored activities where black hats are employed by a nation-state to target another country's computer systems. The hackers are literally being used as weapons by the rival state. Corporate espionage. A company may hire a black hat hacker to steal intellectual property from another organisation. It could be revenge. A disgruntled employee who's recently lost their job may decide to hack the company they previously worked for. Or another common thing that a lot of businesses have to worry about is referred to as insider threat, where it is actually an employee of the organisation who is attacking the company. Stringent background checking is becoming more and more commonplace in businesses to try and eradicate this type of insider threat. Some people just hack for pure curiosity. They've seen hacking in movies, they've read about hacking on the internet, and they decide they want to give it a go. Some people just do it because they can. There are lots and lots of motivations for hackers. These are just some of them. But in the words of Alfred Pennyworth from Batman, some people just want to watch the world burn. Next, we're going to take a look at the methodologies that threat actors employ. Broadly speaking, the methods can be divided into two distinct types. The first type uses technology-based attacks. The hacker may use code or special types of hardware to exploit vulnerabilities in operating systems, hardware, applications, or even the fundamental way in which computers communicate. Here we see a list of types of technical attack, ranging from denial of service attacks to credential theft. In a buffer overflow attack, a hacker sends more data to an application than the application can handle, and if the application is poorly coded, it can result in the hacker having direct access to the target system's hardware resources, which ultimately means they could create their own user account, shut down the system, or even establish a permanent remote access backdoor into the system. The ping of death uses a special type of ping packet that older operating systems didn't know how to handle, which resulted, as the name suggests, in the system crashing or dying when it received it. Ping packets are normally used for just testing connectivity between computer systems, but if the ping packet is altered in a special way, it results in a ping of death attack. Passwords are often stored as hashes. Think of hashing like creating a special code for your data. It takes your information, like a password or a file, and turns it into a unique sequence of characters using a special mathematical process. This code is like a digital fingerprint that's unique to your data, making it useful for checking if things have been changed or verifying if something is genuine or not. When we hash a password, we cannot reverse engineer the resultant hash to find the original password. It's a one-way process. Because of this fact, hackers use huge databases containing every single possible hash of every single possible combination of letters, numbers and characters that can make up a password. They then steal hash passwords from a computer system and compare the stolen hashes to those stored in their database or rainbow table. So although hash passwords are not decryptable, they can be attacked through this brute force technique. Many websites use a two-tier structure whereby there is a web server that users connect to that then pulls data from a back-end database server. For instance, an online e-commerce site may have a back-end database containing customers, stock or order information. SQL is a language used by many database systems. SQL injection or SQL injection attacks are most common on poorly coded websites where an attacker can send instructions through the website to interact with the back-end database system. If the website were coded correctly, it would filter these types of attempts and prevent them. If not, it may allow the hacker to retrieve corporate data or user credentials from the back-end database. We're going to talk about cookies in a later module. However, cookie theft is an attack where a threat actor steals website cookies from a user's machine. Cookies are often stored by websites that you visit so that those websites can remember you when you return to them, and sometimes include user login information too. If a hacker were to steal cookies, they could potentially use them to gain access to sites and impersonate you. A keylogger may be a piece of hardware or software that literally logs keystrokes from a keyboard. Physical keyloggers are often small USB devices that connect between a computer keyboard and the computer itself and can store several thousand keystrokes. If you were to type in your username and password, the keylogger would then record your keystrokes. The hacker could then return to your computer at a later date, remove the keylogger, and see everything that you've typed. Trojans are an example of malware. A Trojan is a bit of software that looks innocent but has malicious code hidden within it. Like the Greek story of the sieging of Troy and the Trojan horse, the unsuspecting user welcomes the file or application onto their machine as it looks useful. When they run it, the Trojan delivers its payload onto their machine. We use the term malware to refer to any form of malicious code or software. We'll talk more about specific malware types in a later module. Packet injection. Well, imagine you're sending a letter through the mail to your friend. In a packet injection attack, it's like someone has intercepted your letters and adds their own messages inside before forwarding them on to your friend. Your friend would receive the altered letter with an extra message they didn't expect. In computer networks, packet injection works similarly. It's when someone sneaks in their own data or commands into a flow of information being sent between computers, potentially causing unintended consequences or manipulating the communication. Script kiddies, that we mentioned earlier, typically are inexperienced individuals, and they may resort to outdated hacking techniques like the Low Orbit Ion Cannon or LOIC due to its simplicity and availability. The LOIC is a tool used for conducting distributed denial of service or DDoS attacks, where a network is flooded with an overwhelming amount of traffic, causing it to stop functioning or run slowly. Script kiddies use it without understanding the full implications or having a proper knowledge of cybersecurity. However, relying on outdated techniques exposes their limited understanding and increases the chance of them getting caught, as modern security measures have advanced to counter such attacks. These are just some of the many technical techniques that threat actors employ to gain access to data, systems and networks. As modern encryption and authentication technologies get more and more advanced, many threat actors will employ non-technical approaches to gain access to systems. Non-technical approaches are often called social engineering. Rather than trying to break the encryption on a system, they target the weak link, the user. So they are hacking the user. Here we see some examples of some non-technical hacking techniques, some social engineering techniques. In dumpster diving, it's like treasure hunting in trash cans, but for information. Some sneaky folks rummage through discarded documents or electronic devices looking for valuable tidbits. Remember, always shred important paperwork. Phishing is where a threat actor sends deceptive emails or messages pretending to be from a trustworthy source in hopes that they reel you in and get your personal information. You should never take the bait. Typo squatting. Have you ever accidentally mistyped a website address? Well, some clever scammers take advantage of these mistakes. They create websites with similar names to popular ones, hoping you'll make a typo and end up on their fraudulent page. Tailgating and piggybacking are similar ideas. In piggybacking, an authorised person lets an intruder in. They think the intruder has a legitimate reason to be there. You can imagine it as a situation where an employee is talking to a perpetrator, claiming to have a meeting with someone in the office, and they let them in. With tailgating, though, if you've ever held the door open for someone and they sneakily slip in without proper authorisation, that's what tailgating is. In cybersecurity, it's when someone without permission gains entry to a restricted area by following closely behind an authorised person. Some companies will use turnstiles specifically to prevent this type of tailgating. A rogue access point is an unauthorised wireless network that mimics legitimate ones, tempting you to connect and unknowingly expose your information. Always stick to trusted Wi-Fi spots. A USB drop attack is where a threat actor leaves a USB drive in a public place. If an unsuspecting person plugs it into their computer, the attacker potentially then can gain access to their system or steal information from their computer. Avoid picking up random USB drives lying around. It's like playing a dangerous game of digital Russian roulette. Malicious USB devices that look like a conventional memory stick can be bought easily online. A good example is the USB rubber ducky. The USB rubber ducky, whilst looking like a USB memory stick, identifies itself to a computer as a keyboard. Once plugged into a computer, the computer allows it to send keystrokes to interact with the operating system. Hackers can very easily write what are called ducky scripts, which send hundreds of keyboard strokes to the computer and allow them to steal data from the machines or open up remote access. Pretexting is the term we use where a threat actor creates a fabricated scenario or identity to manipulate individuals into revealing sensitive information. Whaling is like a phishing campaign where the threat actor targets a high-profile individual such as the CEO of a company or a famous celebrity. They will often include more personal information or more targeted information than would be placed in a general phishing attack, which means the chances of the attack succeeding are far greater. These are just some of the methods that are employed by threat actors. In this module, we've looked at cybersecurity and what it actually means, and how it's a very important part of everybody's lives. We've looked at the CIA triad, and we've seen how it defines the three key elements of cybersecurity: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We've also looked at threat actors, the different types of threat actor, what motivates them, and just some of their methodologies. Welcome to the Cybersecurity Awareness course. My name's Richard Keep, an IT professional with over 25 years experience in the IT, training and cybersecurity industries. In this module, we're going to be talking about how we can secure our network connections. We're going to take a look at the differences between wired and wireless networks and their properties. We're then going to look at what some of the vulnerabilities are in those types of networks. We're then going to move on and see how we can protect our wired networks and the steps we can take as well to protect our wireless networks. We're going to look at implementing network security measures to protect them, and we're also going to look at best practices for protecting network connections. Before we begin to look at securing our networks, let's take a quick look at what we mean by networking. Well, networking is the connecting of two or more computers to allow them to communicate with one another. The first connection between two computers was actually made in October 1969, so this is certainly not a new technology. But over the last 50 years, although the world of technology has changed so much that it would be almost unrecognisable to someone living in 1969, one of the foundations of the modern world of interconnected devices is the concept of networking. These first network connections relied on physical cables connecting one device to another, but nowadays connections can be either wired or wireless. Wireless networking is everywhere. Many different types of devices have wireless networking connections. I've even got a wireless toothbrush that keeps track of how long I've brushed and sends me angry messages to my phone if I don't brush for long enough. Wired networks use copper or sometimes fibre cabling to interconnect devices. And computers then connect to networks using network cards, sometimes referred to as network interface cards. The picture on the slide shows you a picture of a network cable going into a network card on the side of a laptop computer. It is possible to connect two computers directly with a single cable. However, as most networks rely on more than two computers, some kind of intermediate device is often used to connect those devices. A device called a switch allows you to connect multiple devices together. Before switches, we had devices called hubs. Both hubs and switches actually serve the same purpose. They're used for connecting multiple computers together. However, a switch can be thought of as an intelligent hub. A switch learns which devices are connected to which ports, and this enables it to transfer data much faster between machines. When a computer sends a message into a hub, on the other hand, that message will be sent to every other machine connected to the hub, regardless of whether the message is intended for those devices. Because of the primitive way in which hubs work, they are slower and far less secure than switches. We also have devices called routers. A router is a device that connects two or more networks together. For example, imagine you've got a company that's got two office locations. Each office would have a switch, which would allow the devices within the office to communicate with one another, and then to allow the two offices to speak to one another, they would use a router to route packets from one office to the other. The device you get issued by your internet service provider, which is often actually referred to as a hub, is in fact a combination of a switch, and in fact if you look on the back you'll probably find some network sockets on the back of it, there's usually 4 or 5 of them, and a router. The router in this case sends data between your home network and the internet. You can think of the internet as just a giant collection of networks all over the world, all interconnected with routers. Modern standards for wired networking offer very high-speed connections. I've recently installed 10 gigabit Ethernet in my house so that my toothbrush can send me messages even faster to tell me to change my brushing habits. Wireless networks use radio waves to transmit data, allowing devices to communicate without the need for physical cables. These radio waves operate within specific frequency ranges, providing a medium for devices to send and receive information. Let's have a quick look at the 802.11 standards, which define the technical aspects of wireless networking. The 802.11 standard, commonly referred to as Wi-Fi, establish guidelines for wireless communications. These standards define how devices connect, how they exchange data, and how they handle different frequencies. They ensure compatibility and interoperability between wireless devices, enabling seamless connectivity. One of the primary concerns of wireless networking is ensuring that it is secure. When we transmit data wirelessly, we want to ensure its confidentiality and integrity. Encryption plays a vital role in achieving this. It scrambles the data using complex algorithms, making it unreadable to unauthorized individuals. Without encryption, anyone within range could intercept and decipher our sensitive information. One of the earliest encryption standards was called Wired Equivalent Privacy, or WEP. However, WEP has significant security flaws and is now considered outdated and easily compromised. I've seen a white hat hacker demonstrating cracking a WEP network in under 6 seconds. To address the weaknesses of WEP, Wi-Fi Protected Access, or WPA, was introduced. WPA improved security by implementing stronger encryption algorithms and introducing the Temporal Key Integrity Protocol, or TKIP. However, even WPA had vulnerabilities that could be exploited by determined hackers. To address these vulnerabilities, WPA2 was developed. It introduced a more robust encryption algorithm called the Advanced Encryption Standard, or AES, and improved security mechanisms. WPA2 is widely used today and offers strong protection for wireless networks. Recently, the newest standard, WPA3, was introduced to further enhance wireless security. It offers improved encryption protocols again and strengthens the security of Wi-Fi networks. WPA3 also provides enhanced protection against password guessing attacks and offers individualized data encryption for even better privacy. It is important to note that even with advancements in encryption protocols, no security measure is entirely foolproof. Attackers continuously develop new methods to exploit vulnerabilities, so it's crucial to keep wireless devices updated with the latest firmware and security patches to mitigate potential risks. So what are the different types of network attack? Well, there are many different types of network attack that a threat actor may engage in. An example of one might be to gain unauthorized access to a system. Unauthorized access to systems occur when someone gains unauthorized entry to a network or a specific device within the network. This can happen due to weak or easily guessable passwords, unpatched software, or misconfigured access controls. Once inside, the attacker can exploit the compromised system for malicious activities, for stealing data, for instance, or even gaining control over other connected devices. Data interception, also known as eavesdropping, refers to the unauthorized capture and monitoring of data transmitted over a network. Attackers can intercept data by exploiting vulnerabilities in network protocols or by using specialized software or hardware. This allows them to access sensitive information such as passwords, financial data, or personal communications. Eavesdropping can occur on both wired and wireless networks if proper security measures such as encryption are not in place. Service outage refers to an interruption or denial of service to legitimate users of a network or system. Attackers can achieve this by overwhelming a network with an excessive amount of traffic, known as a denial of service attack. These attacks can render a network or a specific service unavailable, causing inconvenience, financial losses, and reputational damage. So we're going to take a little look at wired network vulnerabilities. So when a threat actor gains access to a physical network socket, switch, or router, they can exploit various vulnerabilities that can compromise the security and integrity of the network. Here are some potential risks. By gaining physical access to network sockets, an attacker can connect their device directly to the network, bypassing security measures. This enables them to potentially access sensitive data, eavesdrop on network traffic, or launch further attacks. They may try to manipulate the network infrastructure. An attacker with physical access to switches or routers can manipulate network configurations, such as redirecting traffic or launching man-in-the-middle attacks. They can modify settings to intercept or manipulate data flowing through the network, leading to data breaches. Through the installation of malicious hardware or software, threat actors can introduce rogue devices, such as unauthorized computers or network taps, into the network infrastructure. These devices can intercept, monitor, or modify network traffic, providing attackers with unauthorized access to sensitive data or facilitating further attacks. Unauthorized hardware devices connected to the network infrastructure pose additional vulnerabilities and risks. An example might be a rogue computer. An attacker can connect a rogue computer to the network. This allows them to gain unauthorized access to the network, which then may allow them to compromise other devices and potentially exfiltrate sensitive data. A network tap is a physical device that captures and monitors network traffic. An attacker can use a network tap to intercept data flowing between devices, enabling them to capture sensitive information such as passwords or confidential communications. So, now we understand what the vulnerabilities of a wired network are, let's take a little look at how we can actually secure a wired network. To mitigate these wired network vulnerabilities and associated risks, it's crucial to implement the following security measures. First of all, we should physically restrict access to network ports. Physically restricting access to network ports is a crucial first step in securing your wired network. Ensuring that network sockets are located in secure areas where unauthorized individuals cannot easily access them, and by physically controlling access to these ports, you can prevent unauthorized devices from being connected to your network. Another important thing to do is to disable unused ports. It's a very common oversight leaving unused network ports active. These ports can serve as an entry point for unauthorized devices or malicious actors. By disabling unused ports on the switch, you effectively close potential avenues for unauthorized access. So if a hacker were to wander in and plug a network cable into an empty network socket in the wall in your office, there should be no connectivity to the wider network until someone from the IT department re-enables that switch port. Switches support a technology called 802.1x authentication, not to be confused with the 802.11 standards we talked about in wireless networking. 802.1x authentication is an effective method to enhance the security of your wired network. It provides a way to authenticate and authorize devices before granting them access to the network. When you implement 802.1x authentication, you can ensure that only an authorized device can connect, preventing unauthorized access and potential security breaches. A similar technology would be to use MAC filtering. Every single device with a network card has an associated MAC address with that network card. A MAC, or Media Access Control Address, is a unique address assigned to the network card by the hardware manufacturer. When you configure MAC filtering, you can specify which devices are allowed to access or which devices are denied access based on their unique MAC address. Again, this is a configuration that can be configured on a switch, but it allows you to filter and only allow approved devices to connect via a switch. It is possible to implement what are called virtual local area networks, or VLANs. This will provide yet another additional layer of security by separating your network into logically segmented areas. By separating networks using VLANs, you can isolate sensitive systems or departments, ensuring that access is limited to authorized individuals or devices. This helps contain potential breaches and prevent unauthorized access to critical network resources. Another thing you can do is maintain vigilance and promptly report any unusual or suspicious devices connected to your network. Regularly monitor your network infrastructure for unknown or unauthorized devices. If you come across any suspicious devices, report them immediately to the appropriate authorities or your IT department for investigation and mitigation. By following these steps, you can significantly enhance the security of your wired network and mitigate potential risks. Remember, network security is an ongoing effort, so it's important to regularly review and update your security measures to stay one step ahead of potential threats. Wireless networks, while convenient, can introduce certain vulnerabilities that can compromise the security of your network. Let's dive in and explore those vulnerabilities in detail. Firstly, threat actors don't need physical access. It may seem obvious, but one significant vulnerability of a wireless network is that threat actors don't need physical access to your network infrastructure to launch attacks. Unlike a wired network, where physical access is required to connect to the network, wireless networks are accessible from a distance. Attackers within the range of your network can attempt to exploit vulnerabilities remotely, making it crucial to implement strong security measures. Weak authentication can lead to unauthorized access. Weak authentication mechanisms are a common vulnerability in wireless networks. If authentication protocols such as a weak password or outdated encryption standard is used, threat actors can potentially guess or crack these credentials. Once authenticated, attackers can gain unauthorized access to your wireless network, so they could potentially eavesdrop on traffic or intercept sensitive data. Another vulnerability of wireless networks are rogue access points or evil twins. Rogue access points or evil twins are unauthorized wireless access points that mimic legitimate networks. They trick users into connecting to them, providing attackers with an opportunity to intercept and manipulate network traffic. By connecting to a rogue access point, users would be unknowingly exposing their sensitive information to the attacker, risking data breaches or identity theft. Quite often when we're in hotels or cafes, we may be tempted to connect to public Wi-Fi networks, and although convenient, they can pose significant risks. They're often unsecured and lack proper encryption, allowing threat actors to easily intercept data transmitted over the network. Attackers can use specialized software or hardware to eavesdrop on sensitive information, which could lead to potential data breaches or unauthorized access to personal accounts. So how do we secure a Wi-Fi network? Well, securing your wireless network is crucial to protecting your data, maintaining privacy, and prevent unauthorized access. Let's have a look at some of the essential strategies we can implement to enhance the security of our networks. Firstly, we should use strong wireless protocols, such as WPA3. WPA3 is vital for securing your wireless network. It offers enhanced encryption algorithms and better protection against password guessing attacks. Most modern devices will support WPA3 encryption. Upgrading to WPA3 ensures that your network is using the latest and most robust security protocols available. When choosing an encryption key for your wireless network, choose a long, strong wireless key. Use the same guidelines that you would do for choosing a strong password. A strong wireless key should consist of a combination of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. Avoid using easily guessable information like common dictionary words or personal information. And if you want your network to be private, don't print the wireless key on a piece of paper and stick it on the wall of your office. When you're connecting to a wireless network, always check the wireless network name carefully before joining. The wireless network name, often referred to as an SSID or Service Set Identifier. Ensure that you are joining your intended network and not a rogue access point or evil twin. Attackers may create fake networks with similar names to deceive users into connecting and exposing their sensitive information. If you're going to use public Wi-Fi, consider using a VPN or virtual private network connection. A VPN encrypts your internet traffic and provides a secure tunnel between your device and the VPN server. This makes it much harder for a hacker to perform a man-in-the-middle attack and intercept your personal data. If you see security warnings when you connect to a Wi-Fi network, do not ignore them. Security warnings are designed to alert you about potential security risks or insecure network connections. Ignoring these warnings may expose your device and data to threats. If you receive one of these security warnings, take the necessary steps to address or investigate what the security warning is advising. By following these strategies, you can significantly enhance the security of your wireless network. But remember, securing your wireless network is an ongoing process. Once again, you should regularly update your device's firmware, change wireless keys periodically, and stay informed about the latest security practices to adapt to evolving threats. In summary, as you've seen, network security is crucial for protecting our data, maintaining privacy, and preventing unauthorized access. Here are some key areas to remember. Remember, both wired and wireless networks are vulnerable and can be susceptible to various security vulnerabilities. Understanding these vulnerabilities is essential to implementing the right security measures. Ensure unused network sockets are disabled or physically protected. To prevent unauthorized access, it's important to disable unused sockets or physically protect them from being easily accessible. This reduces the potential entry points for attackers. Vigilance is key. If you notice a strange or unauthorized device plugged into your network, report it immediately to the appropriate authorities or the IT department. Timely reporting could help prevent a potential security breach. For wireless networks, strong authentication methods such as WPA3 should be implemented. Strong authentication protocols and long, complex wireless keys enhance the security of wireless networks, preventing unauthorized access. Check you are connecting to a network you recognize. Always double check the network you are connecting to, especially in public settings. Verify the network name or SSID carefully before joining to avoid connecting to rogue access points or evil twins. Always be careful using Wi-Fi networks. Exercise caution as they generally lack proper security measures. Consider using a VPN to encrypt your internet traffic and protect your data from potential eavesdropping or interception. Welcome to the Cybersecurity Awareness course. My name is Richard Keep, an IT professional with over 25 years working in the IT, training and cybersecurity industries. In this module, we're going to take a look at email security. We're going to be looking at email and its importance and why it poses such a threat on modern networks. We're then going to take a look at one of the most common threats to modern networks, which is phishing emails, and we're going to see how we can easily identify phishing emails. We're then going to take a look at how we can examine email headers for an extra level of verification. Email communication has become an integral part of our lives, with a staggering 347.3 billion emails received globally every single day. However, not all of these emails are legitimate or harmless. Around 48% of these daily emails are classified as spam, flooding our inboxes with unsolicited and often malicious messages. It's important to exercise caution while dealing with such emails to protect ourselves from potential threats. An alarming 54% of ransomware outbreaks can be traced back to malicious emails. Cybercriminals often use email as a vector to spread ransomware and gain unauthorized access to systems. This highlights the critical role of email security in safeguarding our data and networks. By understanding these statistics, we can recognize the need for robust email security measures. And throughout this module, we will explore various strategies and best practices to ensure the safety of our email communications. Remember, securing your email is not just about protecting your own information, but also plays a role in maintaining a secure online environment for everybody. Email communication has become an integral part of our lives, with a staggering 347.3 billion emails received globally every single day. However, not all of these emails are legitimate or harmless. Around 48% of these daily emails are classified as spam, flooding our inboxes with unsolicited and often malicious messages. It's important to exercise caution while dealing with such emails to protect ourselves from potential threats. An alarming 54% of ransomware outbreaks can be traced back to malicious emails. Cybercriminals often use email as a vector to spread ransomware and gain unauthorized access to systems. This highlights the critical role of email security in safeguarding our data and networks. By understanding these statistics, we can recognize the need for robust email security measures. And throughout this module, we will explore various strategies and best practices to ensure the safety of our email communications. Remember, securing your email is not just about protecting your own information, but also plays a role in maintaining a secure online environment for everybody. Phishing is a prevalent social engineering technique used to attack or exploit individuals through their email. It involves tricking users into revealing sensitive information, such as passwords, credit card details, or personal data, by disguising the communication as a trustworthy entity. There are different variations of phishing attacks, two of which are called spear phishing and whaling. Spear phishing is a targeted form of phishing where attackers customize the messages to appear more authentic. They gather specific information about their intended victims, such as their name, position, or organizational affiliations, to make the phishing attempt seem more legitimate. By personalizing the attack, spear phishers aim to increase the chances of success and maximize the impact of their scheme. Whaling, on the other hand, is a type of phishing attack specifically targeting high-profile individuals, such as executives or CEOs, the big fish of an organization. In whaling attacks, cybercriminals often pose as senior executives themselves or trusted authorities within the organisation to deceive their victims. The objective is to obtain valuable information or gain unauthorised access to sensitive systems by exploiting the target's position and authority. Both spearphishing and whaling are dangerous forms of cyber attacks that exploit human vulnerabilities and rely on deception. It is crucial to be aware of these tactics and employ effective email security measures to protect yourself and your organisation from falling victim to these malicious schemes. In the following slides, we're going to delve deeper into the techniques and preventative measures you can take to defend against phishing attacks. Also worth noting, there are other forms of phishing, such as vishing, which is a similar idea to phishing, only it uses voice messaging instead to initiate the phishing attack. One way to understand how phishing emails work is actually to take a look at one of the original phishing emails. These are referred to as 419 scams. They're named after Section 419 of the Nigerian Criminal Code, which addresses fraudulent schemes. They're also known as advanced fee fraud or Nigerian print scams, and they aim to deceive individuals into providing money or personal information under false pretenses. As you can see, this email dates back from 2006. But it is a prime example of one of these scam emails, and it exhibits several common phishing aspects that we still need to be aware of, even with modern phishing emails. Let's take a look at some of those aspects. The email is addressed to a generic name, attention sir/madam. Many phishing emails use generic names as they will not know the name of the recipient they're sending the email to. In some cases, they may address the email to the person's email address instead of their actual first name. A scammer may have an email but not know the first name of the individual the email is actually destined for. There's a sense of urgency and confidentiality within the email. The scammer creates a sense of urgency and confidentiality, claiming that a business of significant magnitude requires immediate action and confidentiality due to time constraints and the sensitive nature of the matter. There's impersonation of a high-ranking official. The email claims to be from Mr. F. William Smith, who is a member of a special committee in the Ministry of Petroleum in Nigeria. The scammers use this persona to lend credibility to their story and make it seem legitimate. There's an offer of financial reward. The scammer is promising a substantial reward of $10.5 million in exchange for assistance in transferring funds to a secure overseas account. This lure of a large sum of money is designed to entice individuals into falling for the scam. It's important to note that this email is a clear attempt to defraud individuals. The scammer aims to deceive recipients by exploiting their desire for financial gain and by using urgency, confidentiality, and impersonation techniques. By recognizing the obvious phishing aspects in such emails, we can protect ourselves from falling victims to these fraudulent schemes. Remember, a legitimate entity would not typically contact a stranger through an unsolicited email and offer them large sums of money in exchange for assistance. We're now going to take a look at a more modern phishing email and see how it shares some of the characteristics of this original 419 email, and also what we can do to identify other factors that tell us that it is not a legitimate email. This is an email purporting to be from Amazon, informing me that they've put a temporary hold on my account due to a billing issue. Apparently there's a problem with my card and they've been unable to charge my bill. I get many of these emails, particularly around Christmas time, when there seems to be a massive increase in them. So how can we identify that this isn't from Amazon and that it is in fact a modern phishing email? Well, first of all, look at the images contained within an email message. Check to see whether they're low-resolution images or low-resolution logos. Quite often, hackers just download company logos from the internet and paste them into the body of an email to make them look more convincing, but quite often those images they use are of a low quality or low standard. So look for pixelated or low-resolution images. Another aspect, which was similar to the 419 email, is the addressing of the email to helloinstructor@training.com. Amazon know what my first name is, and if they send me an email, they generally either address me as Richard or Mr. Keep. In this case, the scammer who sent this email clearly doesn't actually know my first name because they're not Amazon, so they've addressed it to my email address instead. There are loads of spelling mistakes and grammatical errors within the body of this email as well. So to unlock your account, You may need to update this information with the card issuer, and the word separately is misspelt as well. Large corporations like Amazon employ people to do quality checking on all communications that are sent out because they don't want to appear unprofessional by sending badly worded or grammatically incorrect messages out to individuals. One of the crucial things in this email, though, that tells me that it has not come from Amazon is the email address. The email appears to have come from update@support-amz.com. However, if I hover my mouse over the email address, the actual sender's email address will appear. Now, this applies in most mail programs. And you can see the sender's address, rather than being update@support-amz.com, is that incredibly long and unusual looking email address. Emails from Amazon will tend to be sent from an @amazon.com email address. So this clearly has not been sent by an employee or a system at amazon.com. Another thing to look out for are hyperlinks. So hyperlinks are the links that are in emails that you can click on that take you to an alternate website, for instance. In this case, there is a large orange button in the middle of this email labeled Account Verify. Again, without clicking on the button, if I just hover my mouse over the button, the URL that button will take me to is displayed on my screen. And as you can see here, the web address that it will take me to if I click on that button does not appear to be on an Amazon web server. And in fact, when I copied and pasted that particular link into an online virus scanner, it reported that it was a fraudulent website containing malware. Those techniques will allow you to identify the majority of scam emails. Something else to look out for is the general tone that is used within the email. This shares a lot of the characteristics with the 419 email that we looked at previously. There's a sense of urgency. We're going to put a hold on your account due to a billing issue. There's impersonation. Obviously, the email is impersonating Amazon and Amazon customer services. There's a generic salutation, hello instructor@training.com. So whilst this is a slightly more convincing form of phishing email, it does still share a lot in common with the original 419 scams.
If you're not a subscriber, click down below to subscribe so you get notified about similar videos we upload. To see the full course that this video came from, click over there. And click over there to see more videos from Simon Sez IT.